All right. Welcome to this week's episode of Marc and Mike's Rock and Roll Battle. We're just a couple of brothers that were born in the 60s, but really grew up on 70s and early 80s rock and roll. As most brothers, we're very, very competitive. We turn anything into a contest. And so we've turned rock and roll into a contest in which each of us have picked an album under the category of Best Female 70s Rocker. Both picked an artist and an album, and we are going to go track by track. We're going to debate who has the better track. Each song scores a point. At the end, we will declare a winner of this week's rock and roll battle. And so for this week, Marc, you chose for your female singer.
I chose Heart, Dreamboat Annie, which is their debut album. They're actually from Canada, but they made it big here in the States. And you choose which one?
Pat Benatar, her second album, 1980s Crime of Passion. And she's a New Yorker. Her first album was a hit. Her second album, Crimes of Passion, went platinum 4 times over. It reached number 2 on the charts, and I think for 1980 was a number 25 hit. So this was a big album. This was her breakthrough album. And a couple of compare and contrasts between Pat Benatar and Heart, in that they were both 70s, and a lot of bands struggled to get into the 80s. Remember, in 81 was the MTV era. And a lot of bands struggle to make that transition. Think of Rush, think of Bread, think of The Sweet. A few bands just couldn't do it. Heart and Pat Benatar were able to make that conversion into MTV friendly. And then a few years, in order to survive, bands had to make that leap into hair metal or glam metal. And Heart and Pat Benatar were amongst bands that were able to make that leap. Others weren't. And so they were not only successful in the 70s, but really in the 80s. And then both of them are Rock Hall of Fame, with Heart getting there in 2016 and Pat Benatar getting there in 2022. And this is our first international battle. You chose a Canadian band, I chose a US band.
That's awesome.
With that, let
me go ahead and give some stats on the Heart, their debut album, Dreamboat Annie. It charted in the US at number 7. The highest it went in 1975 or 76, one of the two. It also sold 1 million copies, but not as near as many as Pat Benatar. But it's the album is I would personally say half rock and half folk rock. So we ready to battle?
Yeah, and I was curious on that choice, because you're right. When I listen to it, it's half the rock and roll you and I love, and there's a couple great rock tracks, and then most of it's folk rock. And you and I, we're more. Our debut episode was Aerosmith versus AC/DC. We still got to get the our second, which was Bon Jovi against Motley Crue, and that's more our music. So I was a little surprised that you chose something that was really leans on folk rock and soft rock.
Right, but that's my diversity. I spread out.
Your horizons.
That's right.
All right.
All right, let's go.
All right, song number 1 for Pat Benatar is You Give. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong one. Song number 1 is, I've got to get the right sheet here. Hang on one second.
No problem.
Where's my sheet?
I came all the way to Kansas to get it.
Right here.
So you didn't have anything.
Sorry. Song number 1 is Treat Me Right. It's a romance song about respecting the relationship. Song number 1, this peaked at number 18 on the Billboard Hot 100.
So number 1 for Heart was Magic Man. It actually ranked number 9 on the Billboard 100. It's about actually a few of these songs that she wrote, Ann Wilson, is actually about her boyfriend slash manager of Heart. And this one is about her boyfriend. And she just had he had a spell on her for some odd reason. And she just wrote about it, and he's a magic man who knows what that magic is, but that's basically the gist of it.
And it is a quintessential 70s rock song.
Absolutely. It's believe it, when in 1975, a lot of these songs went into 76 too, actually released, on its own. But the album itself went in 1975. But actually, that was the second single released on the album. So, what do you think?
I think it's hard to beat. Magic Man's a really
Yeah,
good song. Treat Me Right's good, but Magic Man is memorable.
Right.
And so I will give that to you. That is, you are up 1-0.
All
All right, song number 2 hits You Better Run, which is a remake of a 1966 Rascal song that peaked at number 42, and that is going up against
Crazy on You, which peaked at number 35. So Crazy on You is actually about, and it's it's one of those songs in the 70s, mid 70s. Go ahead.
Time out. I had this. So Dreamboat Annie.
Oh, that's right. So Dreamboat Annie was
cheater.
number 2, but
did you catch that everyone
3.
was trying to cheat by matching an unbeatable song?
Okay, so Raymond, so Dreamboat Annie, and I was going to get to that one. Actually, there's 3 versions of. They do it 3 times in the album, and I'll explain to you on the number 4 song, because that's what actually the whole song is in number 4. So because Dreamboat Annie goes into Crazy on You, if you remember it, goes right into it on the album. So let's just, since it's 3 times, they play it 3 times, and I'll tell you why in a little bit, why they play it 3 times. But
understood. It's a continuing story, but to keep the 10 songs and 10 songs, we really have to match You Better Run against the first version of Dreamboat Annie.
Okay, fair enough.
And so pop quiz. So
yes.
This song came out, this album came out in late 1980. The song was released in early 81. Coincidental with MTV. This album was launched right around the same time MTV was launched. Do you remember the first ever video shown on MTV? Day One, Video One.
No, I sure don't.
It's the Buggles, Video Killed the Radio Star.
Oh, is it?
That's the very first song. Do you know what the immediate second song ever played on MTV?
Was a Pat Benatar song?
You Better Run.
Yeah, wow.
And so they had to pick a video that was musically appealing and lyrically appealing to the ears. And so for me, it's hard to beat. MTV trying to make a name for themselves. They picked You Better to Run as the second song ever played.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat that. So we'll go with that. We're 1-1. Dreamboat Annie is, if you listen to it, it's a great song, and the 3 versions of it, it's really the same, but they have 3 kind of different meanings, and I'll explain to that when we hit the number 4 song.
Okay. So if we're tied 1-1, song number 3 is Never Want to Leave You versus
Crazy on You. And that's, can I go ahead and explain? Thank you.
Both these songs have similar meanings, and you can tell right from the title, right?
Crazy on, what was the other one?
Mine is Never Want to Leave You.
Okay, so yeah, basically the same thing.
Sorry about the cat here. They're both about love songs, right?
Exactly. Crazy on You hit number 35 on the charts. It's actually Ann Wilson wrote it. She didn't see a bright future at the time, 75, 76. That's when Vietnam was going on, or about the end of it. There was a lot of crime. Remember the gas shortage in 75. So she turned to her boyfriend, which is her manager too, for a lot of things. And she said she was just grateful to have her amongst that time. So that's what Crazy on You was about.
And this one is hard to argue. Mine's a deep track. Yours is a top 40 hit. When you think of Heart, this is another great rock and roll song. Very, very
Right.
tough to beat. Have to give it to you. You're up 2-1.
Okay.
All right. Song number 4. What do you have?
I have Soul of the Sea, deep track. It's about a woman who's involved with a man who loves the sea. And she's trying to get him not so involved in the sea and involved in her. It doesn't kind of work out, but that's what the song's about. It's a very loving, peaceful song, and that's the more the country rock or the folk rock of it. So, and it's a deep track.
And it's a mismatch because Hit Me With Your Best Shot is
There you
perhaps
go.
Pat Benatar's best known song, peaks at number 9. It's a
Mhm.
song about a guy she's dating who's known for a love him and leave him type. He's a little heartbreaker, and she kind of challenges him to break her heart. And it's one of her biggest hits against your deep track. I think it's no contest.
Absolutely. No contest.
I think it's 2-2.
Okay. So we are the next song is Dreamboat Annie again. So basically what the song is about a young girl, Annie. She's talking about herself, who's rich with possible, dreams, that whatever she can do. Now, the 3 tracks that you see on the album, one is the first set is she's on the sidewalk, in the morning, just dreaming away. And the second one, which is this track that we're talking about, and by the way, it peaked number 42. Did you know that, Mike? I really didn't know that. Did you ever hear the song?
No, and I mean the acoustic intro is very, very hard. And so when I was listening to it, I thought it was another Heart song that has a very similar acoustic.
Yeah. Well, anyways, the second I guess version of it is she's on a sidewalk, and actually if you listen to it, all 3 of these are in each song, but the second one's about she's on a sidewalk, lost in a crowd, just dreaming. And then the third one is she's out somewhere just dreaming again. So you can, she's dreaming in 3 different situations. So that's what Dreamboat Annie. It's a really lovely song. And peak number 42. I did not know that. I've heard the song before I listened to it again, but I didn't realize it peaked at number 42. So what's yours?
So that is up against Hell Is for Children.
Oh,
I think this is a well-known song.
Absolutely.
And
Tell me what Hell for Children's about.
So it is a song about child abuse. And Pat Benatar was inspired. There was a series of child abuse articles in the New York Post, where she's from New York City, talking about child abuse. And the song is really about betrayal for kids. The people they love, that are supposed to love them the most, the people that are supposed to protect them, are the ones abusing them. And so it's their abusers putting them into hell. So Hell Is for Children is about child abuse, and very, very, very deep lyrical meaning. It wasn't released as a single. It did manage to chart on some of the alternative billboards. It's like not on the Hot 100, but on some of those alternatives. Today, it gets a lot of radio play. And it's Hell Is for Children. It's deep meaning, but it rocks. It's a rocking song.
It does rock. I really enjoy the song. I really didn't know the meaning of it. I just liked the tune and just enjoyed it. But now that I know what it is, I wonder how they put it into a really rock type song. but they did.
Yeah, because it's really a dark song with
Mhm.
an
Yeah,
upbeat,
absolutely. Yeah, with an
a
upbeat.
rock beat.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you, I like folk rock. I love Simon and Garfunkel. I love Cat Stevens. When I hear Hart play folk rock, it doesn't do it for me. Dreamboat Annie just doesn't do it for me.
yeah, I got it.
Crazy on You, Barracuda, Magic Man, that's Hart. That's the Hart I love. And so
Mhm.
when I hear Hell's for Children against any of the three versions of Dreamboat Annie, I lean heavily towards Hell is for Children.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with you. Even though what didn't chart, right? Or did
It did
chart?
on the alternatives. It
Okay.
wasn't released as a single, but it still found its way onto the radio. And on some of the
Yeah,
smaller tracks, it did, but not the Hot 100.
right.
But
I'll
today
give
it's
I'll give
the
that to
radio
you.
staple.
What's that?
Hell is for Children is on the radio.
Yeah,
It's a regularly played.
absolutely. All right. So you got that one.
All right, and so that would make it 2-2.
No, 3-2.
No, 3-2. Three
Yeah,
to two. All right, we have a couple deep tracks.
right. So White Lightning and Wine is the track that I'm gonna discuss here. This is actually probably the hardest rock song on the album. Even, because Crazy on You, we know Magic Man, we know. We don't know this one, but it's actually I really enjoy it. And I never listened to it until, I picked the album and then I listened to the song. Now, what it's about, I really don't know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't, I try to read the lyrics. The lyrics don't know what it's about, but it's just a rocking song.
And it's up against Little Paradise. It's a very Pat Benatar song. She has one of those voices just like Heart. It's her when you hear it. It didn't have while it's a good rock song, it doesn't differentiate itself. It was just kind of a regular deep track for me. Agree. And as I said, when Heart is doing hard rock, I love them. When they're doing folk rock, they kind of lose me. And I agree, this is one of their harder rocking songs, and so I have to give it to you. And so
Okay.
we are tied 3-3.
Awesome. Okay, so we're 3-3. All right, next song.
Is I'm gonna follow you.
Okay. And is that another deep track, I take it? I
It
never
is.
heard of it. Okay. And what's it about?
It's another romance song and going to the ends
Yeah,
of the earth and to be with her loved one, with her lover.
gotcha. And so this song is not it's one of those rock, what did I call it?
Folk rock.
Folk rock. And it's called Love Me Like Music. I will be you song. And basically it's a song that makes you feel better. Ann Wilson's, just turn on that radio and listen to his music. And anytime that you listen to music, no matter what type of music, it'll just make you feel better. So in that sense, I think they're both deep tracks and it's not really a rock song, but I just like the meaning of it. How about you? What do you think?
I could just when they do folk rock, it's just so soft.
Heard.
That I pick I'm gonna follow you just because it's a rock song versus
Fair
folk.
enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, so 4-3. Song 8 is Wuthering Heights, which is a deep track. It is also a cover. Kate Bush in '78 actually had a #1 hit with it. And this is a remake 2 years later from a Kate Bush song.
Cool.
And we'll tell you the song is actually based on an 1847 novel about a tumultuous love between royalty in England, the Moors in England, and it was a love that was doomed. And it's a 9-minute song, and it's a ballad.
Oh, it's a ballad. Okay. Deep track, right?
Deep track, 9 minutes, ballad, and it's placed deep in the album.
So
you're
and
probably
you
going to
love
know
ballads,
where
don't
I
you?
land on this.
And the one Sing Child, it's actually one of those folk rock songs that they do. But if you listen to it, they have a lot of flute in it. It's just really pleasant to hear. This is hard to debate, but because it's a slow song. So
I didn't like either song.
you didn't like either, so we want to just toss it out.
You want to call it a draw?
We'll call it a draw.
All right, so I'm still up 4-3. Okay, Prisoner of Love is number 9.
Was that a hit?
No, but it sounds familiar. It's
It
definitely a
does.
Pat Benatar rock song.
Right. And Mel, most of that album is actually a rock, is rock. And when I went back and listened to it, I said, this is a really good album. And it's just, it's just a very rock, the rock you and I like,
Yes.
and Heart here is kind of, like we said, it's a lot of rock, but half of it's rock, half of it's folk rock. And you have to really like folk rock to like the album. But so on this one, How Deep It Goes, it's a deep track. It's a woman chasing a man, wants to be with this man, but he's like a ghost, but not a ghost, he's just not paying him enough attention. Just wants to be with him, but doesn't really he doesn't want anything to do with her. So that's what the song's about. What do you think?
Again, it's rock versus folk rock. It's
Nothing wrong with that. I got you on that. Yeah. So what, you're a 5-3?
If this was called Marc and Mike's folk rock battle,
I would
I'd have to
win.
give it to you.
Yeah.
But this is Marc and Mike's rock and roll battle.
Okay.
And this
So
is a rock and roll song.
you're right. You're absolutely right. And when you presented, because it was your turn, you presented, the first thing that came into mind was Heart. And and a lot of their albums, have a lot of those folk rock type things in it. And but we know the hits, but I get it.
It's 5.5 to 3.5, and we go to song 10,
Which is
out of touch against
Dreamboat Annie. So
there's
now
a surprise.
What?
Dreamboat Annie again, 3 times or 10.
I know. So you got to give me at least this one.
Not an
Because
original
they did
Bone
it
and
3
Hearts body.
times. They did it 3 times in one album.
I will give this to you. Out of touch, deep track, non-memorable. I will give this to you. Dreamboat Annie, the 3rd version. And so it is 5.5 to 4.5. And so I win this rock and roll battle, making me this week's king of rock and roll.
I have to say that, not you.
Oh,
Michael,
right.
you the king of rock and roll this week.
All right, that wraps this episode. Who was right on the battle? Was it Heart, Dreamboat Annie, or Pat Benatar's Crime of Passion? Let us know what you think in the comments. Please remember to subscribe and like this channel. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you. Oh, crap. You know something? Oh.